Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Strike Noise, your weekly baseball history podcast. My name is Jeff. I'm one half of the show. Joining me, as ever, from our Pacific Northwest studios is Mark A. Johnston. Arthur, how are you doing?
I am wonderful, man. Baseball season's in full swing. This is the time of year I really love.
Well, you must be in a good mood because it's not very often that the Mariners are in first place at this point.
Yeah, and even up by 6.5 games. So, you know,
the only team over 500 in the AL West, too.
Yes. Well, I wasn't going to mention that, but
I mean, they're with the Rangers and the Astros in that division. It's really weird to see Seattle up front, but let alone by that much, and nobody else even 500.
I know it's. You got a couple teams that are not playing the way that it says they're supposed to play on paper.
Well, the A's are just poised. They're waiting for a strong second half push.
I'm sure.
You know,
we got to be ready for that. Although I hear the Mariners have one of the easier schedules in the second half of the season.
Well, that's because they play the AL West. Yeah. All right, everybody, let's get into this. So this is show number 253. Let's get right into our BP segment here, Mark, and get warmed up. Last week, we left you on kind of a cliffhanger. I had gotten my 2 bottles of Field of Dreams whiskey, each of which comes with a hand-numbered and unique day for debuts throughout the history of baseball. Last week, the first one, not very impressive, I'm not going to lie. Was not really that excited about the players I got. So let's see. This one's got a lot more names. I got 6 players that debuted on this. The date I was given is April 18th, 1947. So, Mark, you were, what, just graduating college at that point? Is that?
Yeah, I was in grad school.
Grad school. Well, see, now you just ruined the whole illusion. All right. So 6 players debuted on this day, 5 of which I've never heard of. We'll go over those first. First of all, Ed Chandler. Ed Chandler, who appeared overall in 15 games in his career, all of it in 1947. He was a pitcher with the Brooklyn Dodgers, ended up going 0-1 with a 6.37 ERA. And not a whole lot to talk about there. Next, Lloyd Gearhart, also only played for 1 year. That was in 1947 for the New York Giants. He was a outfielder, but he appeared in 73 games, hit 246, 315 on base. So that's not a bad season. I don't know why he didn't get another shot, but he didn't. Also, Jack Lorkey, which is a fun name to say. His nickname was Lucky. Lucky Lorkey?
Lucky Lorkey.
Yeah. Let's see. He played for 7 years. He came up with the New York Giants. Wow, the Giants and the Dodgers were busy on this day. He came up in 1947. He was an infielder. Ended up playing for 7 years in the big leagues, 5 with the Giants, 2 with the Phillies. Not a whole lot to talk about for Lucky. I mean, he was lucky he played in that many games. Appeared in the 1951 World Series that they lost to the Yankees. But he had 2 plate appearances and struck out once. Also making his debut today was Ken Pulvika.
Oh, Ken Pulvika.
Pulvika, Polivka. His nickname was Soup, which with that last name, you can guess where that came from.
Sweet.
If your nickname is Soup, one of 2 things have happened. 1, your last name is Campbell. Or 2, you have a bunch of just random consonants in your last name.
That's right.
And Ken was the latter here. Just 2 games that he appeared in 1947, the only year he appeared in the big leagues with the Cincinnati Reds. No record, a 3.0 ERA, 3 innings pitched, 1 earned run given up.
So the next season, somebody said to the Reds, "No soup for you."
No, oh, you get that Seinfeld reference in there early. Let's see. The 4th player to appear today, Virgil Stallcup.
Wow.
Yeah. His nickname was Red, so I'm going to give you one guess to come up with something about Virgil Stallcup's appearance.
He was probably tall.
Yeah, that's He was left-handed, probably. Let's see. He was a shortstop. He played for 7 years in the big leagues, 6 with the Cincinnati Reds, and then a season and a half with St. Louis. Overall, 241 average, not too bad. But the one player that I had heard of that I got, and it's actually really kind of cool, Ted Kluszynski made his debut today.
Oh, that's awesome.
4-time All-Star. I mean, this is a guy that could legitimately just be an episode for us, right? I mean, he was kind of a quirky guy, a big guy. Let's see, he's listed here on Baseball References 6'2", 225. I think he was probably weighed a bit more than that, but Ted Kluszynski, nicknamed Big Clue, probably most famous for refusing to wear sleeves on his jersey. Before there were the vest jerseys that like the Reds and the Mariners and the Rockies wore, he just cut his off because they restricted his enormous biceps and shoulders, so he couldn't swing a bat freely.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, everybody's got their quirks, right?
Sun's out, guns out for Clue.
That's right.
He's a big dude. Also became the first player in Major League history to hit 35 or more home runs in 4 seasons in which he had fewer strikeouts than home runs.
Oh, wow.
That is impressive. In 1956, he hit 35 home runs, struck out 31 times. Jeez, that's
impressive.
That is very impressive. Good batter. Hit 298 overall for his career. 15 home runs, 353 lifetime on base, a 123 career OPS plus, and overall a 31.4 WAR.
Wow.
For Ted Kluszynski. Not to be confused with the Unabomber.
No, not Kaczynski. It's Kluszynski, right?
Ted Kluszynski. I wonder if I said Kluszynski at some point. I'm betting I probably did because those are the kind of things I usually get nicked for.
He meant Kluszynski, folks.
Yeah, totally. You heard wrong. The only 3 other major leaguers that have achieved this feat, maybe you've heard of them: Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, and Johnny Mize.
Yes, I heard of Johnny Mize.
Yeah, the other 2, not so much. But yeah.
Interesting. Kluszynski was the hitting coach for the Big Red Machine.
Was he really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Batting coach starting in 1970 for the Reds.
Well,
for 72 through 79.
Just another guy, if you got in a brawl with the Big Red Machine, that you would not want to face.
Nope.
You know, you got Dave Parker and some other big dudes there.
No, thank you.
Well, hey, let's segue to this. Speaking of the Big Red Machine, Tuesday night in Cincinnati, we had a fan on the field.
Yes.
Which is, do you know what I'm referencing here?
I did see it, yes.
So this dude jumps on the field in the middle of the game. He's wearing, to his credit, a Johnny Bench, throwback pullover jersey. It's a good-looking jersey.
Making Johnny proud.
Yeah. Well, if he would have been holding 10 baseballs in one hand or whatever, then he would have been.
Then you got to write him on. Yeah, give him a shot.
So he runs out into center field and says hi to some of the Guardians who they were playing, some of the outfielders there. Then he stops in center field, and right as the security guy gets up to him, he does, from a standing position, a backflip. And lands on his feet like it's a perfect backflip. And the security guard actually tries to snag him right when he jumps. So he kind of jumped out of his hand and did a backflip. Very impressive. So he lands on his feet and tries to run away from the security guard who wasn't having it and just tased him right there in the middle of the field. I don't know. I don't mind this tasing.
I don't either. It's fine with
you
me.
end it quick, because normally one of 2 things are going to happen when a fan jumps on the field. They either just outrun like 30 field security guys until they slip on the turf and they're too tired to get up, and then they all jump on him. Or they run to a wall, jump over it, and run up the stands, and then who knows what happens to them.
Right.
But this tasing is gonna end it much quicker. So, and it's much more dramatic too.
They could start giving the outfielders tasers. Make it real quick.
Or bear spray, bear repellent.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, we got great ideas we've got here on this podcast.
We're always coming up with the winners right here.
So that happened on Tuesday. Something even cooler happened on Wednesday during the Mets-Marlins game. Gary and Keith were in the booth Ron Darling not there that day. And my boy Keith Hernandez made a Music Man reference.
Nice.
I was so excited about it.
That had to make you proud.
It really was. And you know what was funny is I was wearing one of my Keith Hernandez T-shirts that said, "I'm Keith Hernandez." And it was great because Keith, for some reason, said, and he would be O-U-T. And then he said, and that rhymes with pool, or that stands for pool. I forget. He messed it up a little bit. But they did a whole bit about the capital T that rhymes with P that stands for pool. So I was just, the Mets and the Music Man, I was a very happy boy.
Very Jeff Paulson combo.
Yeah, it was really, like they were targeting me. It was like an Instagram ad. I was targeted.
That's it.
Once a broadcast, they like to target one in particular viewer just to make them feel like they're special.
Well, I'll bring you back for the next show.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they've got a strong demographic game.
You are just a demographic.
Just a number. That's all I am. Let's see here. Some other broadcasts. So over the weekend, I guess it was, it was on Fox. So it was their like baseball night in America. The Angels and the Mariners was one of the games. So in the booth, they usually take, one of the play-by-play guys of usually the home team, and I think they did this time. It was Aaron Goldsmith, one of the Mariners announcers, and AJ Pierzynski was in the booth.
Yes, he was.
AJ had a take here as to some kind of advantage that the Mariners had at home, and Aaron Goldsmith was, I think, flummoxed is the word that I will use here.
Late swing and a miss on a fastball, strike one.
Can't you tell how much noticeably darker it is in here when they close the roof, and what an advantage it is for the Mariners?
Specifically for the Mariners.
Well, yes, because now they're in a controlled environment.
Nothing in two. Yeah, I guess I just couldn't tell that as clearly as you can. But you're a former player, so.
Just the silence.
It was just like, what is he talking about?
Well, catchers, they either go on to become managers or they've just been hit in the head one too many times with a foul ball. I think
it might have happened to AJ earlier in his career too.
Yeah, boy. Let's see. Have you seen this Jackson Holliday baseball card that's surfaced recently?
I have.
It is a tribute to the Billy Ripken F-face card is what we call it. Only it's super scary. It kind of looks like one of those Instagram filters that changes your face into like a creepy mixture of Alfred E. Newman and those smiley people from that movie Smile from a couple of years ago that they sat behind home plate for a couple of games. The knob of his bat also says Fun Face, which a little bit more family friendly, I guess. But I legit thought it was just Alfred E. Newman the first time I saw it. I thought it was like a Mad Magazine parody. But it's scary. I'm looking at it, and it's unsettling.
Yeah, I got it called up right here. It's got a creepiness to it. Yeah, that's a weird smile, and it is very Alfred E. Newman.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's ginger, and he's got wide set eyes, and it doesn't even look real to me, if I'm being honest. But
it should say, "What? Me worry?"
So I'm sure that'll be going for a lot of money somewhere.
It's an interesting card, yeah.
So this is a very interesting story that I saw out of Milwaukee. A Brewers employee had a side hustle as a hitman. So Amy Betro, who is listed as an administrator for the Milwaukee Brewers baseball team. I'm guessing that means she answers the phones. I don't know. Maybe she might be the assistant traveling secretary's administrator. I don't know. It just said administrator. She was hired to fly to Alabama and knock off a father and son who owned a clothing store because they made another store owner angry.
To knock them off.
Yeah. Shoot them. She tried to shoot them. She pulled up to their car with a gun and tried to shoot them, but the gun jammed.
Nice.
She then fled the country and is still on the run.
So, what the heck?
So If you are in some remote location outside of the United States and you see a 44-year-old woman draped in Milwaukee Brewers gear, maybe let the authorities know.
Yeah, that's probably a good call because I'm sure she's wearing her Keston here jersey.
It's a sad state, though, when the Brewers, a Major League Baseball team, don't pay their employees enough that they have to be hitmen on the side.
That sounds a little more lucrative, though, than like a scoreboard operator.
Oh, no. I saw how much. They paid her like $3,000.
Oh, come on.
That's not enough to, well, I mean, come on. We're talking about killing somebody, so let's not do that at all. But for $3,000, like, that's not even enough to go, like, heckle them.
No, I agree.
Or throw tomatoes at them or something.
$3,000, I might call them names on the show, but that's about it.
Yeah, well, I would do it remotely too. I'm not going to go for that amount of money. Yeah. Let's see.
Rip-off.
Well, they didn't get I hope they didn't pay her up front because the job was not done.
Well, she's going to need the money on the run.
So this was making the rounds through social media, not just baseball social media, but just social media. It was from a 1995, I want to say edition, a 1995 issue of GQ. Is GQ still around? I
think so.
I was never really considered gentlemanly enough to be able to read this magazine. But it's from 1995, and it has a list of overrated things. So some of these things that are overrated are just stupid. All you can eat shrimp, wood burning pizza ovens. How would that ever be overrated? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, it says absolutely fabulous. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with that. I love that show. It's a great show. The Baseball Hall of Fame is one of the things that they lose me right there.
Yeah, you lost me. I'm done.
But there is another baseball-related thing here. It says middle relief pitching is overrated.
Well, you haven't faced a team that has poor middle relief pitching.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. In 1995, middle relief pitching was probably overrated. I mean,
sure.
Well, it was probably not even rated, right? There's probably it was kind of the forgotten. You had the starters, and then really not even setup men. It was really closers and starters were all you really talked about at that point. But now, I mean, now you've got guys, first guy out of the bullpen's throwing 99 miles per hour. So, and they're getting paid an awful lot too. So I would say we've turned the corner. I would say we've turned the corner on middle relief pitching and the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think they're both underrated now, not over. But
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%.
All right, let's see this. Mark, we got to do some cricket talk.
Oh, right on.
I'm
cricket.
Actually, I'm watching cricket right now on my second monitor here. The T20 World Cup is here. We're in the midst of it. We're in the first round right now. It's hosted in the United States. I didn't know this until the first match. I mean, did you even know that there was a T20 World Cup going on right now?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, I've watched it before. I know that it's a thing, but I didn't know it had started, let alone that the U.S. is hosting it. They're co-hosting it with the West Indies, which is kind of weird because, you think if you're co-hosting, it might be something that, a location that's close to you, not like a several-hour plane trip to get to. But the West Indies is huge. I mean, cricket is huge there. The West Indies, first of all, is comprised of 13 independent countries that are all islands, one of which is the Dominican Republic. So baseball ties there. But they have a flag for these 13 countries. The West Indies flag actually has cricket wickets on the flag. That's how big the sport is in this area. Also, Barbados is one of the countries that is incorporated into the West Indies, and they have the coolest flag ever. It actually looks like a Mariners flag from the 1980s. It's blue and gold with a trident in the middle.
Very nice.
Now, you might think, Mark, Mariners trident, I think it's the exact same trident that Maserati uses as their logo, but it's a great looking flag and great. But this is so exciting, and the U.S. pulled off a huge upset As the host team, they made the tournament automatically, which I think is the only way they would have gotten in. But they beat Pakistan, who was in the finals of the last T20 World Cup and is a big cricket country. They beat them in the first round, which was huge. And it went to an extra over, which is, if you think of it in kind of baseball terms, it's like you play one extra inning. That's all you're going to get. And you got to score as many runs as you can, so you're taking a lot of chances. I'd only seen one other super over, but this one blew that one away. It was really exciting. I'm not sure if you can get it without paying to watch it here in the United States. It's not on ESPN or anything, but if you can find it, it is super exciting. I love cricket anyway, but T20 is just super exciting, and the World Cup is great. So if you can find that, watch it. You'll catch on. It's not. I mean, I understand it, so that tells you.
Yeah.
Mark, this show is debuting on June 14th. We've got some debuts, a little bit better debuts than last week. First of all, 1932, Rip Sewell made his debut.
Is his real name Rip?
No, his real name is not Rip. Truett Banks Sewell.
Ooh, I'd have gone by Rip too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. As a pitcher, do you want to be known as Rip? Rip is typically a batter type thing, right?
Yeah.
But he's a pitcher. He's credited with inventing the ephus pitch.
Oh, nice.
Which I think you did a story on the ephus pitch. So we mentioned Rip before. He developed it in 1942. This is right up our alley, though, after a hunting accident permanently damaged his big toe. Which is
This was a hunting accident.
It was, I mean, hunting or farm accidents are kind of the same thing. But it was his big toe. I would have thought maybe blew a finger off or something to come up with the ephus pitch, but no, it was big toe. This is very similar to a knuckleballer, is that he could just throw this pitch forever. He said, quote, "I don't have to warm up. All I have to do is shake hands with the catcher and I'm ready." Sewell surrendered 116 home runs in regular season games to 68 batters in 10 different ballparks, but none of them ever homered off his ephus pitch. Not a single one. There's a very famous video you can watch of him. I think it's the 1947 All-Star game, but he came in and faced Ted Williams, and Ted Williams was yelling out to him, "You're not going to throw me that pitch, are you?" And Rip essentially said, "You better believe it, Ted, here it comes." And Ted ran up, almost like a cricket batter. He ran up in the box as it was thrown and hit a 3-run home run after it.
Ted Williams, ladies and gentlemen, he ain't going to bite on that one.
No, he was not happy to see it, but he knew what to do with it. Also making his debut today in 1957 on June 14th, Johnny Roseboro.
Oh, sure, Johnny Roseboro, catcher.
Yeah, catcher. He was the successor to Roy Campanella, who, of course, his playing career ended prematurely. Unfortunately, he was paralyzed in a car accident. Roseboro was considered one of the best defensive catchers of the 1960s. He won 2 Gold Gloves. He was the Dodgers' starting catcher in 4 World Series, and the Dodgers won 3 of those. I know him best, and maybe that's because I grew up here in the Bay Area, because he got in a very famous and very vicious fight with Juan Marshall in 1965.
Juan Marshall, yep. That's right.
Marshall had knocked down Maury Wills and Ron Fairley with some brushback pitches, and Marshall came to the plate, and Sandy Koufax was on the mound for the Dodgers, and Koufax was not going to retaliate. So Roseboro, behind the plate, deliberately dropped a ball, and it rolled behind Marshall, so he went behind Marshall in the box to pick it up, and then he threw a seed back to Koufax as hard as he could, and it allegedly ticked Marshall's ear on the way back.
Yes.
And Marshall turned around and said, why'd you do that? Roseboro didn't say a word. He just took off his mask and menacingly walked towards Marshall. Marshall said, "I was afraid he was going to hit me with this mask, so I hit him with my bat."
Yep.
He hit him over the head with the bat 3 times, opened up a 2-inch gash that in wrestling they call that getting color. The crimson mask, if you will. 14 stitches were required to stitch him up. Later, they became friends in the 1980s, and they would go to old-timers games together, golf tournaments, and other events. They became good friends, which is good to see. Also, this is right up our alley, also appeared in episodes of Dragnet and Mr. Ed.
Oh, sweet. So I've seen the Mr. Ed one. Leo DeRocher.
Leo DeRocher, yeah.
And the sliding horse. Yeah.
So big time two-strike noise cred right there for Johnny Rosenborough.
You bet.
Honorable mentions, other guys that have made their debuts today. 1974, Steve Swisher, Nick Swisher's father, made his debut. 1996, famed University of Nebraska punter Darren Erstad made his debut. And in 2015, Francisco Lindor, who is one of my favorite players currently, made his debut. A couple of guys played their final game today that I want to mention just because these were kind of big names. First of all, Deion Sanders and Wally Joyner in 2001 both played their final game today, which is weird to be your final game is, just in the middle of June, but okay. And then a lot of mediocre Mariners players made their final appearance in the major leagues.
There are plenty of those.
Yeah. In 2000, Rich Amaral. 2016, Brendan Ryan, and 2023, Mike Zunino. So,
nice.
You put all three of those on a Mariners team from the 2010s, and you know what you're going to get.
Well, maybe Amaral will get a hit or two, but I don't know about the other guys.
Well, if it's June, so Mike Junino that one year just went crazy in June.
Had the crazy June, and then hit $160 the rest of the year.
I think that's the best nickname I've ever come up with. Mike Junino. Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for our BP segment. Something I wanted to talk about today. Mark, the Giants and the Cardinals are going to be playing a game next week at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yes, I saw that.
So this is going to be kind of similar to last year when the Cubs and, was it the Phillies? I don't remember who it was, played a game at the Field of Dreams, regular season game. So the Giants and the Cardinals are going to do that this year. I'm actually very excited about this because this ballpark is very famous. In 1910, the owner of the Barons at that point, A.H. Rick Woodward, Rick was like a nickname, I guess. He wanted a new ballpark, and he found this site in Birmingham's West End neighborhood, and he modeled it after Pittsburgh's Forbes Field. Rickwood was they named it Rickwood, is what they named this stadium. It was the nation's first steel and concrete minor league facility. It opened on April 18th, 1910. Do you remember the first steel and concrete MLB stadium?
I do not.
I did a whole episode on it. It's Fenway Park.
Okay.
I mentioned that because Fenway was the first big league park that was not made out of primarily wood, and thusly why it is still standing and why they've been able to continue to build on it. And Rickwood, just like Fenway, still in use.
There you go.
Rickwood is it is now the nation's oldest professional ballpark. Old Comiskey Park was, but once they tore that down, Rickwood became the oldest professional ballpark in the United States. Through its history, it's been home to the Coal Barons, the Iron Makers, the Maroons, the Grays, the Blues, the Bluebirds, and the Reds.
Wow.
So I'm guessing they've repainted a lot.
I bet there's a thick coat of different colored paint.
Yeah. For the Coal Barons, though, it's just black.
which makes it very comfortable for the fans.
Yeah, the summers in Birmingham, I'm sure, are pretty cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of players have played there. So first of all, this is in Birmingham, which obviously has a very complicated racial history. So when I say Barons, you have to be very specific because two teams called the Barons have played at Rickwood. You've got the Coal Barons, or just the Barons, which were, I guess the best way to put it would be your white team. And then the Black Barons were the Negro League team. Some Hall of Famers that have graced the field here. Satchel Paige, we've talked about him once or time, and a guy named Mule Suttles.
The great Mule Suttles of the 50-ounce bat.
Yeah, God, I can't even lift that. I'm swinging a 30-ounce bat. I swing a 33, drop 3, which means it's a 30-ounce bat. And I can't even imagine a fit.
The guy was a clubber, man.
Jeez. They made their professional debuts in the 1920s with the Black Barons at Rickwood Field. Willie Mays also played for the Black Barons. Well, and get this, he played for the Black Barons while still attending high school.
Oh my gosh.
So just what'd you do on your summer vacation? I played professionally for the Birmingham Black Barons.
Not bad.
After Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, the Barons, both of them, because of course the Negro Leagues continued for a couple of years after the color barrier was broken, they were affiliated with the Red Sox. So technically, Willie Mays was under control of the Boston Red Sox. But
don't tell the Sox fans that.
Well, I think they'll go, oh, well, that makes sense when you remember that, Tom Yawkey was the owner of the Red Sox at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And Willie Mays was in no way going to get a shot at playing in Fenway Park for the Boston Red Sox. And his contract was sold to the New York Giants for $10,000. The Yankees.
Wow.
Yeah. As I mentioned, it still is, I guess, a huge issue all over the country, not just the South, but especially after integration in baseball. As I mentioned, a long history of struggle for civil rights in Birmingham. For a short time, though, the city allowed integrated games to be played at the stadium. And I stress a short time. So what they would do is they would allow games where both black and white players could play at the same time against each other. Otherwise, they had a city ordinance that said, nope, can't do that. It's either got to be a white team against a white team or a Negro League team against a Negro League team. But they waived that for a short time, and they did that solely so they could make money, so that major league teams could come in and, play exhibition games, play spring training games. A couple of teams actually held their spring training in Birmingham for a short time and would play here. The city's first integrated professional team, that took place in 1964, and now we're just referring to it as the Barons. The Negro Leagues have folded as the major leagues have become integrated, except for the Red Sox. The Barons in 1964 were owned by the Kansas City A's owner, Charlie Finley, who happened to be from Birmingham. He shuttled a bunch of his guys through there. Blue Moon Odom came up through there. Vida Blue, Raleigh Fingers even played there. Reggie Jackson played there. All those big names from those early 70s A's World Series teams. A lot of them played in Birmingham for the Barons. Several movies have been filmed at Rickwood. The biggest of which would be Cobb, which is a just immensely flawed movie because it's basically just a rewrite of the book that we don't talk about, where it's just made up garbage about Ty Cobb. But when that was made, a bunch of renovations were made to the stadium. It was it had fallen into disrepair. It really couldn't be used to play baseball. The school district owned it. They parked their school buses on the field and really just used it for storage. But to film the movie Cobb, they fixed it up, filmed the movie there, and then it was in playing shape. They've also filmed some other movies there, including Soul of the Game, which was about the Negro Leagues, and the movie 42 about Jackie Robinson. So right. I guess we have that awful Tommy Lee Jones Cobb movie to thank for this stadium still being in use today.
Yep.
I've never seen that movie.
I've seen it.
I was reading about it while looking this up, and it said Tommy Lee Jones was an awful baseball player. And he also broke an ankle right before filming started. So
nice.
That couldn't have helped either. Michael Jordan famously played for the Birmingham Barons, if you remember that, during his quote-unquote hiatus from the NBA. But they did not play at Rickwood at that point. They were playing in nearby Hoover, Alabama. Is that where the vacuum came from?
I don't know, but that sucks.
Well,
Sorry.
They played in Hoover during that time, so he did not play at this stadium. But this stadium is really neat. I'm excited to watch this. The light towers are these old things that overhang it. I don't know. The last pictures I saw, there was no second deck. It kind of looks like a second-tier football stadium in the English football realm. If you watch Welcome to Wrexham, it kind of looks like the racetrack there, where it's just like maybe 15 rows deep all around. It's got an overhang. It's got these old lights. I'm very excited to watch this. I think it's got a manual scoreboard out in the outfield. It should be really cool. I'm excited to watch this. I didn't really care about the Field of Dreams game last year, but I'm excited to watch this one, and hopefully there'll be a lot of stuff about the history of the park and the Negro Leagues there.
Yeah, that's. I'm looking forward to it as well. It's pretty cool.
Only way you can get me to watch a Giants game. I mean, if they're playing the A's or the Mets, I will too. But
there you go.
So watch out for that. That is on, I believe, the 20th is when that is going to take place, and hopefully that'll be cool. All right, Mark, looking at the big clock here in the Two Strike Noise studio, it's broken. So I don't know what time it is, but I can just sense that it is time to get into our final segment of the show. It is time for Wax Packs Heroes. All right, if you are a first-timer here, or if maybe you've forgotten the rules, how we play this game somehow, what we're going to do is we're going to open up some baseball cards, generally from the Wax Pack era of the late 80s, and we are going to play War. Like you do with cards. We're each going to get a card. We're going to look at them. We're going to take the baseball reference WAR, another reason we say WAR there, for the year of the cards, which in this case are some 1991 score cards. So not in wax pack, but a little plastic pack heroes is what we're playing today. We're going to look those up. Whichever player has the higher WAR in 1991, the person that had that card is going to get the other card. We're playing first 1 to 5 wins. If we look on the scoreboard right now, Mark, we are tied up at 3 apiece. It's kind of still early in this season, but all tied up. There are some things that can help you or hurt you, though. On these cards, if there are any what we call 80s baseball aesthetics, that means real stirrups, a really good mustache, eye black, any sort of glasses, flip down glasses, big science teacher glasses, anything like that, we're going to give you an extra 1/10 of a point. And that's kind of up to our discretion depending on the card. If we see those dreaded 2-in-1s, that's a minus 1/10 of a point. If the player won any awards, that means Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP, or an All-Star, or won a Gold Glove, that is a 1/2 a point for each of those. If there's a Hall of Famer on the card, whether they are the focus of the card or not, that's a whole point. If either of us pull a Ricky Henderson, I win the round automatically. If either of us pull a Nolan Ryan, Mark wins the round automatically. Any easily found pop culture references, 1/2 a point for that. Unless it is Seinfeld, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, or The Simpsons, in which case you get a whole point for each of them. So Steve Sachs is a big winner right there. If they were mentioned in the Mitchell Report or suspended during their playing career for drugs or anything we really don't like, if you just bean somebody and you get suspended, that we're not going to dock you for that. But anything like that is going to be a minus 1/2 a point. So here we go. Mark, are you ready to jump in here and hopefully lose again?
I'm totally focused.
All right. So as I pull these out of the pack, Mark, which do you want? Do you want the first card or the second card?
Second card.
All right. So you're going to get a Oakland Athletic. I think you're going to miss his big year by maybe 1 year here, since this is 1991. You have got Go-Go's Muse, Bob Welch.
Welch won a few games.
He certainly did. He also won a Cy Young Award in 1990 when he had 27 wins. Actually, Dave Stewart had a better year that year, but nobody had won 27 games for so long that he did win it in 1990. But we're looking at 1991, where he went 12-13 with a 4.58 ERA. He did lead the league in starts with 35. He was very consistent. Did not get hurt. 220 innings pitched, 220 hits, 101 strikeouts, and 83 ERA plus, and all of that is good for a WAR of minus 0.4.
Nice.
But you know what? I'm going to go ahead. We've talked about him before. We know that he had a relationship with, I think, maybe 2 members of the Go-Go's and was a muse for one of their songs. So I'm going to give you pop culture reference on that.
Okay, cool.
Just right off the bat. Nothing else on this card is going to help you out, even though he is in an A's uniform, which, I don't know, maybe we should start giving points if it says Oakland across the front. I don't know. First round draft pick by the Dodgers in 1977. Won 2 World Series, one with the Dodgers and then one with the A's. I like all of that. We've already covered the pop culture. I mean, we've covered him several times. Unfortunately, passed away a while ago. I really like Bob Welch. Let's see. So you will be going up against my card, which is a pitcher for the Mets. It is Bobby Ojeda. It's Bob on Bob here.
It is. Bob Ojeda.
So Bobby Ojeda also won a World Series, 1986, against the Red Sox. Overall, 15 years in the big leagues, 6 with the Red Sox, 5 with the Mets, and then Dodgers, Cleveland, and the Yankees. In 1991, oh, good for me here with the Dodgers. He went 12-9 with a 3.18 ERA. 189 innings pitched, 181 hits, 120 strikeouts, a 113 ERA plus. And that is good for a WAR of 2.7. Now, he does have 2-1s here, so that'll be a 2.6. He's got the good pullover Mets jersey here, but I don't think we're not going to give points for that. Oh, we've talked about this many times. He was on that boat and was the only survivor in 1993 of that boating accident that where his teammates Steve Olin and Tim Cruz unfortunately were killed.
Yep.
All right, so my 2.6 is going to beat your 0.1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all right. Do you want the next card or the one after that?
I'm going to stick with the second card.
Second card. All right. I think you're going to win this one pretty easily because you've got a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Not named Bob, but named Greg. Greg Maddux here with Cubs.
Yeah, I bet he had a good year.
He did okay. You don't want to stand next to him in the shower, but he did okay. Let's see, 23 years in the big leagues, 11 with Atlanta, 10 with Chicago, and then 2 glorious years with the Dodgers and 2 glorious years with the Padres. That just looks so weird when you see pictures of him in those uniforms. Won the Cy Young Award 4 consecutive seasons, 92 through 95. That is pretty darn good. We're looking at 2001. 35 years old in Atlanta, went 17-11 with a 3.05 ERA, 3 complete games, 3 shutouts. I remember them. 233 innings pitched, 220 hits, a 146 ERA plus. No surprise here, won a Gold Glove that year. Won 18 of them in his 23 years.
Yeah.
And overall, that is good for a 5.2 WAR. He is a Hall of Famer, so you're going to get a whole extra point there. He is wearing 2-1s here, though, so we're going to have to nick you there. I don't think it's going to hurt you too much. Nothing else on this card is going to help you out.
Decent career WAR of 106.6.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, Hall of Famer, 4 Cy Youngs, 8-time All-Star, 1 World Series in 1995 with Atlanta, 18 Gold Gloves. That is just, when you're talking about superlatives and you say something happened 18 times, that is just mad.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you what, and you can find a lot of he made a lot of really good plays. It wasn't just that he was good at fielding his position. He made some all-star plays out there.
And this is, and I believe we've talked about this before. I never knew this until after he had retired. Even sitting there right behind home plate for a good portion of his games, he called his own games from the mound. Remember, Eddie Perez was his caddy. Was the catcher, because in the playoffs they'd have to match him up with Javi Lopez, and for some reason those two just never were on the same page pitch-wise.
Yeah.
But Maddux would call his own pitches, and he would tell Eddie Perez what pitch he was going to throw, the way that he caught the ball as Perez threw it back to him to the mound. That's just so
amazing.
Cool. I mean, now you got PitchCom, and some pitchers will call their own game. I know Chris Bassett does it. I was just watching him. He's got it on his belt. Some have it on their mound, and they'll call their own game. But he did it the way that he would catch. And I remember he would catch the ball in different ways. But I just thought that he was being cool. But no, he was calling his own game to Eddie Perez.
That's pretty cool. Only Maddox could pull that off.
Yeah, just a good, I mean, just an incredible player. Shares the same birthday as two former teammates, David Justice and Steve Avery. Featured in the episode on the TV series Do Over in 2002, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Never heard of it, but you know what? It's good enough for a pop culture reference. So that's a 6.7 for Greg Maddux. That's going to be hard to beat. Now, normally this card probably wouldn't be that bad. Well, I guess he's a reliever at this point. My card is for the Astros pitcher Dave Smith.
Former closer for the Astros. One of my favorite relievers of all time.
Well, 13 years in the big leagues, 11 with Houston, 2 with Chicago at the end of his career. And yeah, this is 1991 is the second to last season he appeared in. He went 0-6 with a 6.00 ERA. He likes the number 6. He was 36 years old at this point, appeared in 35 games, a 65 ERA plus, and that is a WAR of -1. Nothing on this card is going to help me out. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot that's going to help me out elsewhere. 2-time All-Star during his career. He passed away from a heart attack in 2008.
Yeah.
So, R.I.P. Dave Smith. All right, so we are tied up now at 1 apiece. You going to stick with the second one? You want the first one?
Going second one.
Good, because then I'm going to win this round. I shouldn't do that because that spoils the round. Let's see. You have got another pitcher for the Cubs. This one is a bit wilder than Greg Maddux. Is that giving it away?
Possibly, yeah.
It's Mitch Williams.
Yes.
Let's see. Wild Thing, 11 years in the big leagues, 3 with Philly, 3 with Texas, 2 with the Cubs, and then Royals, Angels, and Astros for some stints. 1991, he was with the Phillies, 12-5 with a 2.34 ERA. That is good. 30 saves, 88 innings pitched, 56 hits, 84 strikeouts, a 157 ERA plus. I might not win this round. I don't know. Overall, that is good for a 2.9 WAR.
See, normally that's pretty solid.
Oh, he does have 2-1s on here, so I'm going to have to nick you for that. Now, I'm wondering, are we going to get some pop culture reference? Because, I mean, he was involved in one of the most seminal, like, kind of recognizable plays ever in the history of baseball in the World Series with Rickey Henderson on second base, causing the whole thing.
Yes. Well, it says Williams was in the DIY network show House Crashers.
Okay, that is, I mean, if we're talking pop culture references, that is on the very fringe. Now, I mean, I think we've talked about it before. He sued, I don't think he sued Charlie Sheen, but I think he sued the producers or somebody involved with Major League for stealing his gimmick.
Yeah, something like that.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to wait and see what my score is. But of course, yeah. Let's just see what mine is, because mine is a Hall of Famer, but it is at the end of his career. So you very well might just win this flat out as is. I have got here for the Giants. That tells you where his career was. It's the kid, Gary Carter. 19 years in the big leagues, 12 with Montreal, only 5 with the Mets, and then the Dodgers and the Giants to round it out. Now, I've mentioned it before. I didn't really get into baseball until 1986, so I never saw Gary Carter play for the Expos. It shocks me every time how many years he did play in Montreal. 12. I mean, that's a whole career. So in 90, he played for the Giants. In 91 was his 1 year for the Dodgers. 101 games at age 37 for Gary Carter. He hit 246, 323 on base, 6 home runs, 26 RBI, 2 stolen bases, and a 98 OPS plus. And all of that is good for a WAR of 1.2. Now, he is a Hall of Famer, so that is 2.2. We know that he was on the baseball bunch, So that'll be a 2.7. Now, he does have a batting helmet with no ear flaps on, which is definitely an 80s baseball aesthetic. And if we do that and we don't include House Crashers, we have a tie at 2.8.
Ooh.
I am going to say we're not going to count House Crashers, and we are going to have this carry over to the next round.
All right. That's cool.
All right. So let's do that. And let's see here. Do you want the first card or the second card?
First card.
First card. All right. This is going to be interesting. I think I know how this is going to end up. But you have got pitcher for the Royals, Mark Gubicza. Goobs.
Also could have been known as Soup.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. He probably was called Soup at one point. Let's see here. Goobs, 14 years in the big leagues, 13 with Kansas City, and then his final year, 97, with the Angels for 2 games. So basically a Royals lifer. 2-time All-Star, was a member of that 1985 World Series team. In 1991, with the Royals, he went 9-12 with a 5.68 ERA. 133 innings pitched, 168 hits, 89 strikeouts, a 73 ERA plus. And that is a WAR of minus 0.4.
Ouch.
Yeah, that hurts. He's got a mustache. So that'll be a minus 0.4. Or I'm sorry, a minus 0.3. I don't believe he made any guest appearances on Brett Saberhagen's rap single about Ford trucks.
I think he was clapping his hands.
Oh, he was playing the triangle in the background.
Yes.
The triangle's an underrated instrument. I don't think people give enough credit. Or the tambourine, one of the two. Let's see, any pop culture references that we can come up with here. He was a broadcaster, Polish Hall of Fame. I think we've mentioned that before. His son attended a high school in Florida that was coached by Brett Saberhagen.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty cool. Oh, and he met his wife at Saberhagen's wedding. So he might not have appeared on the rap single, but they were definitely friends. So that's going to be a minus 0.3 for Mark Gubicza. Let's see if pitcher for the Cardinals, Tom Niedenfuer, can help me out.
Hey, home run Niedenfuer, which is not a good name if you're a pitcher.
Yeah, now, who did he give up? I never remember the big home run he gave up. Who was it to?
Was he on the mound when Ozzie Smith hit that home run?
That sounds like that might be. Let's see, as a rookie, the 1981, he was on the Dodgers, who he came up with, won the World Series there. Otherwise, 10 years in the big leagues, 7 with the Dodgers, and then time with Baltimore, St. Louis, and your Seattle Mariners. Unfortunately fortunately for me in this case, he retired after the 90 season.
Oh, come on.
Now, he does have 2-1s here, but he also has a beard and mustache, so those will cancel out.
The home run to Ozzie Smith in Game 5, okay, and then he gave up, 2 days later, he gave up a 3-run homer with 2 outs in the 9th to Jack Clark, and that was it for the Cardinals won the pennant.
Maybe extra points here. He played at Washington State for Bobo Braden.
Oh, he did.
I think every time we pull him, I get excited when I see that because my goldfish brain does not remember. But regardless, all of that will equal a straight out 0 for me, which is greater than your minus 0.3.
It's fair.
All right, so that's going to put me ahead 3-1.
One thing about Niedenfuer I wanted to mention, married to 80s babe Judy Landers.
Judy Landers.
She was in all those really bad movies. Stewardess School, Doing Time.
Are these all movies that I would have rented as a teenager simply because they were rated R and there was a chance that
It looks like most of them, yeah. She was in Happy Days, BJ and the Bear. 15 episodes of BJ and the Bear. Hey. Chips, Night Court, LA Law, all kinds. And then you ever see the show Madam's Place? And if you do, I'm sorry.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She was like in all those episodes. She was one of the main characters.
Okay, well, I'm looking at a picture of her here, and I do. Yeah, she was one of those like character actresses.
Yes.
She was the wife to the white guy in the Jeffersons.
That's right.
That's where I remember her most. Yeah, she was like everywhere, but she was never a leading lady, I guess would be the way to put it. All right, so it's 3-1, Mark. I've taken the lead here. Next card, do you want number 1 or 2?
I'm going to go with 1 again.
1. All right. You have got superstar for the Seattle Mariners, Michael Jackson. He went by Mike, though.
He did go by Mike Jack.
He's got a mustache, though. He looks a lot like Dave Stewart, not going to lie, with that mustache. I don't think he had the success that Stu had.
Not quite.
Let's see. 17 years in the big leagues. Wow. Seattle, San Francisco, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Cincinnati, Houston, and the White Sox. Overall, in 1991 with the Mariners, went 7-7 with a 3.25. In 91, that's not bad for the Mariners. Let's see, 88 innings pitched, 64 hits, 74 strikeouts. This is good. 127 ERA plus, and that is good for a WAR of 1.9.
Nice.
He does have the mustache as well, so that'll take you up to an even 2. Let's see. He was traded by the Mariners with Dave Burba and Bill Swift to the Giants for Kevin Mitchell and Mike Remlinger.
That's how they got Kevin Mitchell.
Man, I doubt there's much in the way of pop culture. Baseball Digest called Jackson a competent setup man.
That's what you want to be known as.
That is the most neutral compliment that you could give. Yeah, nothing else really to talk about there. So you will be going with a 2 against my guy for the Phillies. First baseman. He's listed as an outfielder first baseman here. It's a guy that's not an athlete. He's a baseball player. It's John Kruk.
Uh-oh.
This is a good card right here. He's filthy. Which, I mean, whenever you see a picture of John Kruk playing baseball, you expect it to be filthy. But I can also see that he has got 2-1s on, which is not cool. But John Kruk, 10 years. Guy, seems like he played a lot more than that. 10 in the big leagues, Philly for 6, Padres for 4, and then 1 just at his last year, just a forgettable season with the White Sox. Let's see here. In 1991, good news for me, he was an all-star. He was a 3-time all-star. This was the first of 3 consecutive years that he went to the Midsummer Classic. 152 games, 294 average, 367 on base, 21 home runs, 92 RBI, 7 stolen bases, 0 caught stealing.
Wow.
On Kruk. He must have really surprised somebody 7 times during that year. 139 OPS plus, and that is good for a 4.7 plus the All-Star. That will be a 5.2. I think we're going to get some pop culture points probably somewhere. I know he's announcing for the Phillies, and they love him. Phillies fans. I think he just went viral a day or 2 ago because there's some cartoon. It's a kid's cartoon where the main character is bald. I think his name is Kalu or something like that. And John Kruk says that all he does is whine, and he went viral for that. So I knew who it was, but I've never, without not having kids, I've never seen this show.
Let's see. He was, you're right. He was in the movies The Fan, the second Sandlot, which was hitting home, and American Pastime.
Also in an episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Oh, Adult Swim.
I loved that show. And man, in college, we watched the heck out of that. Also appeared in the Sawyer Brown music video Round Here.
Okay.
Commentator on several video games like that. All of this goes to say is that I have won this round quite handily.
Yeah.
So that'll put me at 4-1. The fat lady is tuning up. So what could possibly be your last card? Do you want number 1 or number 2?
I believe, Jeff, it's the plus size lady is tuning
Oh, yes. I'm going.
All right. I'm going to go with 1 again.
1. All right. So you're going to get a tiny outfielder here for the Brewers. Also for the Mariners, but it's Mike Felder.
Tiny Felder.
Let's see. Now, he was 5'8", 160, so I guess tiny. It fits. 10 years in the big league, 6 with the Brewers, 2 with the Giants, and then the Mariners and the Astros. 1991 with the Giants, 132 games, 264 average, 325 on base. No home runs, 18 RBI, and a 88 OPS plus, and that is good for a WAR of 1.7. He does have eye black on here, but he also has the 2-1s. I like these Brewers jerseys. They're pinstripe. I like that. But I don't see anything else here that's going to get you any extra points on that. I'm not sure that Mike Felder has a lot of pop culture references.
I was just checking out his Wikipedia. It is minuscule.
Yeah, not a lot there for Tiny. And he will be going up against, for me, catcher for the Rangers, Mike Stanley. I think he's got some cups that are really popular right now.
That's right.
As a hockey fan, whenever I hear people talking about Stanley Cups, I assume that they're talking about hockey, and that's not the case anymore. 15 years in the big leagues, 6 with Texas, 5 with the Yankees, 5 with the Red Sox, Oakland, and Toronto. Unfortunately, he retired after the 2000 season. And there's not going to be a 1.7 enough worth of stuff on this card to help me out. And I'm not sure that he was in Sabrina, The Simpsons, or Seinfeld. So
he did catch a Nolan Ryan no-hitter.
Oh, well, that's good. Not going to help me out, but
no, but that's good.
Definitely a badge of honor. Yeah, that'll give the win to you. It's now 4-2. You stay alive.
Yes.
Let's see.
Over.
Card 1 or 2. Which one you want?
2.
2. All right. You are going to get another Oakland Athletic. D-Lou. Darren Lewis. Darren Lewis was one of my guys. He wore a uniform like I thought you were supposed to wear a uniform, except for the fact that he is wearing 2-1 stirrups here. Interesting here. I did not know this. He is from Hayward, which is in the Bay Area here. Went to Shabbat College, which is where I have played several games this year. And then went to UC Berkeley. But overall, 13 years in the big leagues, 5 with the Giants, 4 with the Red Sox, then the White Sox, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Reds, and one of the few players that have been traded between the Giants and the A's. But that is D-Lou. In 1991, his second year in the big leagues, with the Giants, 248 average, 358 on base, 1 home run, 15 RBI, 13 stolen bases, and 94 OPS plus, and that is good for a WAR of 1.0. Now, he does have 2-1 stirrups, but he also has eye black on, so that'll cancel out, and you'll just be at 1.
Known mostly for his defense, I believe.
He was kind of, he could play anywhere in the outfield. Traded between the Giants and the A's for Ernest Ryle. Remember when Ernie was in the green and gold? Also was once traded for Deion Sanders in a package, and Scott Service. And let's see, it had a major league record 243 consecutive airless games by an outfielder to begin a career.
That streak ended at 392. 392 major league games without an error when Cliff Floyd skipped one under his glove.
Wow. Later broken by Nick Markakis.
Yes.
All right. So you are 1 even, and mine is, boy, I remember this guy just from playing Status Pro, which is like Stratomatic. It is with the Padres. It is Thomas Howard. And I will admit, Thomas Howard is a deep cut. But, he played for 11 years in the big leagues. I did not realize that. Cincinnati for 4, Padres, Cleveland, St. Louis, the Dodgers, and Houston. In 1991 with the Padres, 249 average, 309 on base, 4 home runs, 22 RBI, 10 stolen bases, a 85 OPS plus, and that is good for a WAR of 1.8. He has got some real stirrups on here. That's a good look. The brown pinstripe Padres uniform, but that'll be a 1.9. Nothing else on this card. First round draft pick by the Padres in 86. I am seriously doubting that there's much in the way of pop culture. He's got a lot of kids, but that's not really, he's helping, the population, but that's not pop culture. But that is going to give me the round and the win. And Mark, I have taken the lead.
Can't believe this.
Yeah. I think I've won 3 in a row now.
I'm all happy about this. We're going to do a shakeup here.
All right. Well, that'll be 4-3. And that will wrap up this version of Wax Packs Heroes. Also going to wrap up this version of the show. So thank you very much for joining us. If you want any more of us, hit us up on the social medias. You can find us at Two Strike Noise. That is at TWO Strike Noise, all over the place. Also, all in the show notes. You can find all those links. And Mark's very private email address that he gives out to select people.
Please don't share this with anyone. It's Two Strike Noise. Spell it out. twostrikenoise@gmail.com.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next week on the next edition of Two Strike Noise.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.